And for more on gun laws in the U.S., we're joined by Nick Suplina, the Senior Vice President for Law and Policy at Everytown for Gun Safety. Thank you so much for joining us. So first, let me just get your reaction, not only as with your position at Everytown, but also as a native New Yorker.
Yeah, when I think about this tragedy, when I think about the victims and their families, as a professional, but somebody who's lived in the city my whole life, I think one thing, which is really, Manhattan is surrounded by water, but it's not an island. We've got in a safe building in one of the safest big cities in the country, in one of the states with the lowest gun violence rates in the country, we still have 4 laying dead in a Manhattan skyscraper. And the question I need to ask myself is why? And the answer is we're only as safe as the weakest gun laws in our nation. We are not an island, and we can't afford to be. And it's really up to the federal government to fill that gap. But as we think about how this tragedy could have been prevented, we need to look at the laws in the states and at the federal level and what needs to change.
That's such an appropriate analogy when you talk about being an island, because here he is driving across country from Nevada, which has different gun laws than we have here in New York. Talk about why in Nevada, someone with a history of mental health issues was able to not only get a gun, but keep a gun.
That's right. And also what gun is important. So for starters, the gun he acquired in Nevada is an assault weapon. And those kinds of weapons are not legal here in New York. He would not have been able to obtain it here in New York. And that is an important fact. And again, whenever I talk about Nevada's gun laws, I'm also talking about a failure of the federal government to fill in the space. But, Nevada does have a red flag law. It's just not as strong as it could be, and it's not implemented as strongly as it could be. And so when I look at the comparison between the laws, I think to myself, New York, red flag law, if law enforcement comes in contact with a person, say, on a mental health hold, a temporary hold, like the one we know the shooter happened in Nevada, they must file a red flag order. And that gives time and space to say, is this person a danger to themselves or others, right? When there's probable cause to believe there is, they got to go file this order. Well, as a result, we have thousands of petitions in New York every year. In Nevada in 2024, there were about 24. And that means that somewhere in that process, this law is not being implemented as fully as
people are failing to report. Yeah. You mentioned federal government twice. I'm curious, do you have confidence that the federal government, in the aftermath of what we just witnessed 2 days ago here in New York, might do something to make stricter gun laws or red flag laws?
Well, I think 2 answers to that. The first is I have an insistence that they do something. We don't send our elected officials to Washington to not keep us safe, right? The highest order, the highest duty of an elected official is to keep their people safe. Unfortunately, what we're seeing right now in Washington is the exact opposite. The Trump administration and Congress is actually making it easier and even cheaper to get the very firearm that the shooter used this week. They are defunding the federal law enforcement agency charged with reducing gun violence in this country. And they're even proposing to make it easier to travel with a concealed weapon between states. So New York would be subjected to the concealed carry laws of, say, Montana. That doesn't make sense. That's the wrong direction. I think elected officials should get the message. I think voters really care about this issue. And instances like what happened, tragedies like what happened in Manhattan, are just a reminder to voters that if we can't be safe in the safest city, in one of the safest states, then nobody is safe. And they're going to vote. They're going to vote those out that don't understand that fact.
Nick Suplina, we thank you so much for your time and insight. Really appreciate it.